Most people know Puerto Rico is in the midst of an economic crisis. The country is in crippling debt, the unemployment rate is 11.8%, more than double that of the United States, and more than 40% of the population lives below the poverty line. Conditions are particularly low on Vieques, a small island off the eastern coast of Puerto Rico, whose only connection to the island is an unreliable ferry system. The goal of our project is to provide jobs, and therefore dignity, to the people on the island. This will be achieved by developing a mushroom growing facility using bunkers left by the Navy in 2003. Our main objective is to determine the feasibility of doing this. Vieques' economy was agriculturally based until the early 1940s, when the U.S. Navy arrived in Vieques after buying 2/3 of the land. At that point, the economy switched from an agriculturally based economy to a military services based economy. However, in the mid-1940s, the economy went downhill after the focus of World War II shifted out of the Caribbean theater.
Even after the war shifted away from the Caribbean theater, the U.S. Navy maintained ownership of the land in Vieques. They used it for bombing practices from both the air and the sea. This caused protests to break out all over Vieques and Puerto Rico. In 2001, a treaty was signed that the Navy would leave Vieques, and by 2003 they had completely vacated the island.
While the Navy was on the island, they built bunkers to house munitions and ordnance. Since they left, the bunkers have been sitting empty. Our sponsor, Para la Naturaleza, came up with the idea of growing mushrooms in the bunkers as a way to repurpose them and create jobs for the inhabitants of the island. They asked us to research the requirements of the farm and determine its feasibility.
Research was conducted in 3 areas: engineering, economic feasibility, and the community interest. The bunkers currently have no running water or electricity, so we looked into renewable energy and water collection systems. We also looked at mushroom production and all the required infrastructure, from climate control to growing medium. Cost for converting the bunkers into a mushroom farm was investigated, and a list of expenses was established. This included everything from cleanup of bunkers to harvesting of mushrooms. Prices were found through online investigation, from which we were able to calculate approximately how much money the farm could generate each year based on a unit price of mushrooms and the amount of mushrooms that could be cultivated each year. Once all the values were totaled, we plugged in numbers to see how many people could be employed and what kind of wages could be offered, since employment on the farm is the greatest goal of this project. Lastly, we inspected community interest because the aim is for the farm to be community operated and would fail without their support. We conducted surveys of the inhabitants to gauge the community's interest and support of the farm, as well as willingness to participate in its operation.
There are a lot of variables in this project, and it's hard to determine if the project is feasible just by research alone. What we recommend is that a pilot study be conducted over the course of a year in a 15 by 15 square foot section of Bunker 416. This study would involve producing mushrooms in 18 4-foot by 4-foot by 10-inch trays. From this study, data can be extracted on electricity usage, yield of mushrooms, hours needed to run the farm, and other data. We hope that this study proves the farm to be feasible so that it can be a source of employment for the Viequenses. This will be a step towards improving the economy of Vieques, increasing the median household income, and decreasing the rate of unemployment. We also hope it will create an attitude of self-sustainability through farming in a community whose economy once revolved so strongly around agriculture.